All right, so welcome to our therapeutic class today. We're starting seated, so be comfortable. We're always starting seated and hopefully always comfortable. And last week we talked about something called resourcing. So the resources that we have available to us wherever we go. We don't need anything more than our own bodies, minds, and our own senses in order to tap into some really strong and powerful resources for calming the nervous system. So I sent a list of those, or at least some of the ones that we covered last week. I sent them out as an email. For those of you who are signed up for this session, you would have got that email. So those are resources you can do anytime. Tap into that anytime you need a bit of calming in your life, wherever you are. And we're going to delve a little bit deeper over the next couple of weeks into some of those resources. So today we're looking at two different ideas that kind of work together. And one is the idea of grounding, of sensing a connection to the earth and to the natural world. And through that connection, feeling our bodies come into the resonance of the earth. So our bodies and the earth resonate at the same frequency. And when we are with the earth, when we spend time in nature, most people that I know feel a sense of calm come over them in nature. And there's a really substantial physical reason for that. And that is this energy frequency that we tap into. And when we're around electronics and we're away from nature and we spend a lot of time inside, we can feel ourselves a little off kilter. I know I can really quite easily. So, there's a real physical reason for that. It's not sort of just this idea that we're happier in nature, but we actually physically start to attune or resonate with the earth. Not that we start to, because we already do, but we feel that connection. So no matter where you are, you can bring yourself into that kind of connection to the earth by really focusing on what's beneath you and leaning into that support. So we're going to practice that today. And the other piece that we're looking at is called felt sense. So felt sense is literally just feeling your body as it is. And a lot of us kind of move away from feeling our bodies when there's pain or discomfort in the body. And we use numbness to kind of get away from that pain. So tuning into felt sense, we need to approach kind of carefully. If there's a lot of pain in the body, we want to tap into that felt sense and then kind of move out. So we can kind of move in and out so we don't get overwhelmed. And where there's pain in the body, we tend to laser focus. So my suggestion today, when we're focusing on self or felt sense, that if you find areas that are uncomfortable or painful in your body, to just notice that briefly and then find your way back to a place that feels comfortable or good in the body. So we're going to start there today. I'm going to start with what feels comfortable, what feels good, work on grounding, and then start to tap into some of the felt sense in our bodies. And as we do that, we come really in tune with what's going on in our bodies physically. Our emotions are expressed through sensation in the body, so we come more into touch with our emotions. And our mental state is often also expressed in our body. So tension in the mind equals tension in the body. So we're going to explore all of that today. So we'll start seated and look at those resources. So if you're on a chair, you want to make sure that you can feel your feet flat on the ground. So if your legs are a bit shorter, you may want to even put your feet on a couple of books to bring them up, or sit close to the edge of your chair, which is what I'm doing. I'm just right sort of at the edge of the chair. I'm not leaning into the back of the chair at all. And that way my sit bones support me. And my spine maintains its natural curves, its natural shape. And then your hands can rest palms up, palms down, whatever's comfortable. You can clasp your hands, whatever you like. So you're just finding that nice, easy, but upright, seated position. And then just take a moment to tune into the space around you. So just looking around your space, your room, or wherever you are, using your senses to just notice what's around you. And try to let go of judgment. So if you see a mess in your space, just notice it. without judging or even thinking that anything needs to change. Right. And then coming back, letting your attention softly come into the space in front of you. So you're looking forward, but you're not sort of intensely gazing. So just looking forward, but being also aware of the space around you. So letting your peripheral vision expand and open. So that's a little bit of a review of one of last week's resources, which was called Orienting, looking around the space. And then you can either keep your eyes open or closed as we move into the grounding and felt sense. So whatever works best for you. So let's start by tuning into and noticing what parts of the body make contact either with the ground or with whatever is touching the ground. So my chair is where my sit bones are, and that is attached to the ground. So I'm focusing on my sit bones and that feeling of dropping into my seat. And from there, the legs of the chair, almost like they're sinking through the floor into the earth. Same with my feet and hands, feeling this sense of pressure on my legs with my hands, pressure on the floor with my feet. And I'm really connected to where I'm touching what's below me and where I can relax and release into that support. So I invite you to do the same, to notice what's touching the ground or touching something that's touching the ground. Be aware of the surfaces of your body meeting the surfaces of whatever you're sitting or standing or lying on. So just as we tune into the pressure on the body, we're also tuning into felt sense. So grounding and felt sense coming together here. Notice and feel what's connected to the earth. And soften and relax into that connection. Feel yourself supported. So grounding will be our base we'll come back to today. And throughout the class, I'll invite you to really tune into what you feel in your body. And this, as I mentioned, it can be challenging if there's pain or discomfort. So not kind of hyper-focusing on those areas that may not be so comfortable, but finding a place to come back that feels comfortable. So let's just take a moment and scan the body, tune into where in your body feels good right now. Is there an area of your body that feels comfortable, that feels relaxed, that feels open? And if nothing feels good, can you find a place that feels neutral? So absence of pain or discomfort is great. Tuning in. So even if it's just your left baby toe that feels good, that's fine. It's finding some space that feels good in your body, and we'll come back to that as we go through the practice. So now as we start to bring in a little bit of movement, I'm again going to encourage you to really stay tuned to what you feel in your body. So simply lifting the heart, drawing the shoulders back, coming into a bit of a back arch here, breathing in. And then exhaling as you round and soften, let the head come down. Great. So doing this in your own time, you can coordinate with your breath or not. Because the main thing here is not so much about the breath and perfecting the movement, but really tuning in. Where do I feel the stretch? Where do I feel the movement? How does my lower back feel? How does my middle back, upper back, neck feel? A few more at your own pace, and tune in even to the really subtle sensations. happening in your jaw and your face as you do this? What's happening in your shoulders and arms? We're going to change things up a little bit now. So after your next rounding where you're flexing the spine, instead of just lifting the heart, we're also going to lift the arms. You can bend the elbows if you like, whatever's comfortable. Right. And then same thing, rounding, hands down. So again, notice what sensations appear now, what changes for you as you change the movement. Right, this time we're going to add a forward bend, now hinging at the hip joints. So you'll come forward with your chest toward your thighs, and then lift back up again. So if you're coordinating breath, inhale as you lift, exhale as you go forward. And then if it feels comfortable for you, next time you come into that forward bend, you can stay for a few breaths. It might be elbows or hands on your thighs. It may be that you let your chest come right down towards your legs if that's comfortable. Maybe allow your head to release forward again if that's comfortable. Take a few breaths and notice what you're aware of here. What do you feel? What do you notice? And if you feel pain or discomfort, again, a reminder not to dwell there, but let your attention come back to that part of your body that felt good earlier, if that still feels good to you. And when you're ready to come up, you can bring your hands first to your thighs, lift yourself upright, and then we'll take the arms and take them out to the sides. Big breath in. And then crossing your arms one over the other, reaching for opposite shoulders and bringing the head down. Notice which arm is on top. We'll do the other arm next time. So you're opening again. Shoulders and elbows down, chest lifting. Crossing the other way now. Head down at the end and then opening. A few more alternating arms. And this time, stay for a few breaths. So you can take the hands to the shoulders. If they don't quite reach, just holding the elbows or the upper arms is totally fine. Relax your shoulders down. You can let the chin come in toward the chest. Take a few breaths here. If you want a little bit more opening in the shoulder blades, you can twist your upper body a little bit. So elbows moving one way and the other, just opening up between one shoulder blade and your spine, and then the other as you rock a little side to side. Right. Coming back to the center, we're going to switch arms. So opening with a breath in, coming back to that hug position, shoulders relaxed. You can bring the head down. And again, you might want to do a little side to side movement. It could even be little circles with your upper back. So you're getting into that space between your shoulder blades. For me, it's often a very tight area, which is not so uncommon. Right, and then let's come back to the center. We'll take the arms and reach them out to the sides. If you're sitting on a chair, you can bring your hands back and take a hold of the sides of your chair. If not, you might just clasp your hands if that's accessible behind you, or just reach them back. So if you've got the sides of your chair or clasped your hands, you're going to draw the shoulders back, lift the heart. And if the arms are separate, that's fine too. You're just going to reach back and open. You take a few breaths here. Notice what you're aware of. What do you feel? I feel a little stretch in my arms. Release in my shoulders. And maybe a little tension in my jaw and the back of my neck I'm aware of here. So notice what you're aware of. And it doesn't have to be all roses and positive. It's really just what is real and true for you right now. let's slowly release the arms. You can let them hang down to your sides. If you're sitting on the floor, your fingers might come to the ground, that's fine. Let's lift the shoulders up, make fists with the hands. Take a breath in. And then exhale, let go, let the hands go. Feel your sit bones sink down. Again, lift up, breathing in, and then exhale. Feel the earth meet you as you let go. A couple more. You can make sound with your exhale if that feels good, or just quietly. Beautiful. And then let the arms hang this time. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears. Imagine the crown of your head reaching up toward the ceiling as your sit bones continue to anchor down into the earth. The hands can either hang down at your sides for a little more stretch in your shoulders, or if you prefer, you can, again, rest them on your thighs. Turning the head to one side. And again, with that felt sense, notice when you start to feel restriction, where does your neck say that's enough? Ideally before pain, coming back to the center, go to the other side, and same thing, notice. Where does my neck say stop before it is painful? And then back to the center. Let's go to the first side again. And again, you want to notice before there's any tension or pain or discomfort, pausing there, and then very slowly letting the chin come down the front of the chest. From one collarbone to the other, you'll roll up to the other side and then roll back. So we'll go side to side like that. Again, notice. So really tuning into what you feel and notice. If you'd like to make a gentle full circle with your head, feel free. You're just going to be careful not to let your head drop back behind your shoulders. And again, moving slowly, noticing as I go through my circle, and this is likely true for you as well, there are parts of this rotation where I feel more sensation, more stretch, maybe sometimes even some creaking and crunching. And then other parts of the circle that feel really easeful. At some point, switch directions and tune into what changes, if anything. What are you aware of? What do you notice? And then you'll gradually let your head come back to center. And let's come back to this sense of feeling grounded. So you can let the hands rest on your thighs or in your lap. Feel your sit bones again. And just tuning into that sense of pressure on your sit bones is also bringing in the felt sense piece. So noticing sensations. And if you have a hard time feeling your body, which is really, really common, so if there's numbness or you feel like you don't feel much at all, know that that's normal. And even tuning into that feeling of numbness is tuning in also to your felt sense. So there's no way to do this wrong. Good, let's relax the belly now. If possible, you might send your breath down to your belly. You can bring your hand to your abdomen if that helps. So most of us walk around with chronic tension around the abdomen. So see if you can soften that. Let your belly be round and soft as you breathe. A couple more breaths here. Soften all around that lower section of your torso. So lower back, belly, all around the sides. Beautiful. Great. And then releasing that, letting that go. Let's come now to stand. And if you have a chair, you can keep it handy. You may find that it's helpful for balancing and also for limiting your forward bend. So for any of you who feel dizzy with a forward bend or have high blood pressure or any other head pressure, going only so forward that your heart is below your head. So it could be to the top of the chair or to the seat of your chair. But we'll get to that, but just so you're aware of that caution. So chair's handy if you need it. Otherwise, standing with your feet a little bit apart. Soften your knees. You can bend and straighten them a few times to make sure that you're not holding tension in the legs. And this very simple movement, we're bending and straightening the knees, but you might notice the hips flex and the ankles flex at the same time. So we're actually working all three joints of the legs, the lower body as we do this. Three major joints. There's lots more joints. Great. And then let's bring the hands to the hips with those soft knees, letting the hips do a little circle. And again, if you feel off balance at any point, use the wall or use the chair to stabilize. Again, tune into what you feel. So if it's uncomfortable, then modify the movement so that it is as comfortable as possible. But also knowing where there's arthritis or joint deterioration, a little discomfort sometimes is unavoidable, but we do still have to move the body. So it's just when there's pain in the joints that you're not sure why, and it's a sharp pain, definitely you want to stay away from that completely. Let's come back to the center now. And you can bring your feet in side by side. And we're going to work a little bit with the feet, the calves, the ankles, to help to really feel that sense of being connected to the earth. So the first one we'll do is just lifting the heels off the ground. So here's where a chair can be really handy, or using the wall to support you. It's actually more challenging than it looks to come onto your toes. So we're going to press down into the balls of the feet, lift the heels any amount, and then lower down. As you lower down, bend your knees into a little bit of a half squat, and then straightening to lift, coming down and bending. So it's quite simple, not that it's easy, but quite simple. Try a few more. And for those of you who are not needing the chair for support, and if you want a bit more challenge, as you lift your heels, you could also lift your arms. So we'll do a couple more with that option, bending the knees as you come down. Great, make this your last one. Right, and then coming back to stand. So again, if you're using a chair, you can turn to face your chair, and we're going to have one foot a little bit in front of the other, and both feet more or less pointing in the same direction. So they're side by side, but one in front of the other pointing in the same direction. So you can face your chair or have your chair to the side for this, actually, doesn't matter. And what you'll do is you're going to bend both knees. And the main stretch that most people will feel here is in the back ankle. So down in the heel, Achilles tendon area, you might feel it into the calf as well. And it doesn't really matter if the front leg is bent or straight, but it just makes a nice solid grounded stance when both legs are bent. Right. And then from here, we're going to stretch the back calf a little more. So you can step onto your front foot, take the back foot and step it maybe about twice as far back, wherever is comfortable for you. Now we're going to keep the front knee bent and press into the back heel. So it's a little bit like warrior, except for the back foot is pointing a little more forward, not so much out to the side, but forward. That's it. So we're stretching the back calf here, but if you want a little bit more stretch for the front of that leg, whichever leg is back, you can take the same arm and extend it up. And take a few breaths here. Imagine that you're creating a long line from your fingertips down to your back heel. Right, And then let's release. You can come back. So now with that same leg that was back, this one you want to be a little bit careful of. If your feet are quite tight, your foot can cramp in this position. So very, very gently turning the toenails toward the ground and just let your leg hang. So you're not pushing down. If it feels like the arch of your foot, the bottom of your foot starts to cramp up, you'll just turn your toes over. So the toe pads are down and you'll press your heel forward to stretch the arch. So for now, as long as you're comfortable here, top of the foot down, and you could roll your foot a little bit towards your baby toes, a little bit towards your big toes, stretching the top of the foot. This is often quite intensive a stretch because we really don't stretch the feet this way in the course of everyday life. Great. And then you can do that where you turn the toe pads down, bring your toes down, press the heel forward as you press down into the earth. Great. And then with that same foot that you've been working with, the one that was back, the one that we've been stretching the foot, you can lift and circle your ankle. And then give a little shake. And then come back to both feet. And now I encourage you to notice, how does one side feel versus the other? So we just did quite different things on each side. Back leg doing most of the stretching. And so notice what you're aware of. So I'm aware that my body wants to lean towards the side that I've worked already. That may be similar for you, may be completely different. And again, really want to stress that there's no right or wrong. So whatever you're noticing and you're aware of is absolutely right in this moment. Let's try the other side now. So again, if you're using a chair, you can face the chair, one foot in front of the other. So the opposite foot from which we were working before is going to be back. Again, you can bend both knees. So you're kind of sinking down and the weight is going into the back leg. And again, you'll probably feel some stretch somewhere between the knee and the ankle. For most people, a little closer to the ankle in this position. Notice, what are you aware of? Where exactly do you feel the stretch? You're tuning into that felt sense as we work with grounding here as well. And then as you're ready, you can step that back foot further back, keeping the back leg straight now, front knee bent, pressing into the heel. So again, you can stay here just like this, or if you want a little bit more stretch, whichever leg is back. So if your right leg is back, your right arm can extend and lift. And then you'll also feel not just the stretch in your calf, but also you might feel a stretch in the front of your body, the front of the hip, front of the thigh, the shoulder, the arm. Make sure you're breathing. Good. And then you'll bring that arm down. Again, you can step your feet back in. And then same thing here, we'll take the tops of the toes down towards the ground. Again, just let the weight of your leg hang there to create the stretch. You're not pushing, unless it feels really good and you want a bit more stretch, then you can gently press in toward the ground. You might roll from baby toes to big toes, stretching across the top of your foot. And then you can turn the toes down and press forward with your heel to stretch the arch of your foot. And then stepping onto the other foot. So this is the foot we've been working with on the second side, rotating the ankle. And giving a little shake. Just let your ankle flop around a bit as long as it's comfortable. Always, always. And then bringing that foot down. If you can let go of the chair and feel balanced, great. And noticing, feel your feet on the ground now after that little bit of work. You can wiggle your toes a bit if you like. Rock forward onto the balls of your feet, and then rock firmly back into your heels. Right. And then let's bend and straighten the legs a few times. Beautiful. So taking the feet apart again, we'll work a little bit with the shoulders. So we already lifted and lowered the shoulders. Now we'll rotate the shoulders and can lift them both up, roll them back, squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, and then down. And again. Right. And then try alternating so let one shoulder roll back and then the other. Let your knees be soft and start to let your hips swing. Let your whole body move in whatever way feels good. So there's no need to limit. It's really tuning in and noticing what feels good for you. You can go the other direction if you like. You can bring your elbows up and bring a little more movement if you like, and even take the whole arm out like you're swimming. Right, and then eventually coming back to the center and just giving a shake. You can bring your feet back in underneath your hips. Right, and let's come into mountain pose. So mountain pose is the basic standing pose in yoga where the feet are right under the hips, hip distance apart. Feet are roughly parallel to one another, and about, if you think about 60% of your weight going into your heels and about 40% into the balls of your feet, that's just a really rough estimate. And the main thing here is that there's just slightly more weight in your heels. Right? And when we bring a little more weight into the heels, what happens is we get more of a sense of that groundedness that we've been looking for and talking about today. And we get into that sense of really being here. Right? When we rock, and you can try this, rock your way down to the balls of your feet a little bit. And for me, what comes up is this sense of anticipation. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take a step. When I rock back into my heels, I have a sense of I'm here. I'm not going anywhere right now. I am right here. Right. So do a little bit more movement here with the arms. So we're going to start with just a gentle swinging of the arms. And just let them go. And then we're going to add a bounce with the knees. So slowing things down with the arms, bouncing as the arms come through. Good. If you want to lift a little higher, you can. And if it feels okay for you, as the arms go back, you could add a little forward motion with your upper body. Right. Next time the arms are lifted, right, we'll pause here, let the shoulders relax, let the elbows come down to the sides, take the elbows back, open the chest a little, take a breath in. And as you release the breath, release the arms. And let's take a moment, maybe a minute here in the standing posture to tune in. So we put a little more weight into the heels. You might feel your thighs engage, shoulders drop down, crown of the head lifting. You are made of the same stuff as the earth. Your body and the earth resonate at the same frequency. And when we come into that awareness of the earth as our support, we start to allow ourselves to tune in to that deep connection of resonance. So feel your feet on the ground. Notice the sensations of each toe pad touching the ground if you can. You can wiggle your toes if you can't quite feel them. Beautiful. So now we're going to work with Warrior Two. I think we worked a little bit with this pose last week. So taking the feet wider, and the wider the legs are, the more challenging this pose is. So you want to to gauge that, and you can always switch it up if you want more or less. So starting with sort of a rough estimate of maybe feet being about shoulder distance apart or slightly wider, and then turning one foot so that it's all the way out to the side, 90 degrees from where it was. The back foot you can play around. So for most people, turning the foot in a little bit in the same direction is comfortable. Maybe leaving it straight is okay for you. And then we're going to bend that front knee so that the knee lines up over the ankle. This is where having a mirror or having someone looking at you can be really helpful because it's not always easy to tell. The nice thing about, for me being on Zoom, is I have a built-in mirror with the computer so I can check my alignment. So knee over ankle as much as you're able, and then really sink into your heels here. Feel your legs becoming strong, almost like you're pulling up from the ground with the legs, kind of like you're trying to pull the feet together on the mat. So you really feel strong and connected in your legs. And then arms out to the sides, roughly parallel to the ground, but they can be lower if that's more comfortable. And for some people, turning the palms up and bending the elbows takes some of the pressure off the shoulders. So you can see what works for you here. Okay. And we're going to add some movement in a moment, but first really feeling that sense of connection to the ground, lifting through the crown of the head. And we're going to take the hand that's closest to the straight leg, the back leg, we're going to reach it back, turn the other palm toward the ceiling, and reach back towards that back leg with the back arm reaching down. And then we'll windmill, so you can bring the other hand to the thigh or palm forward, reaching down the inner leg as you go to this side. So reaching back, palm facing up, and then reaching down, either hand to the thigh or palm facing forward as you reach down the leg. So go at your own pace. Don't worry about how you're breathing, just as long as you are breathing. Great. And then let's come back to the center, back to warrior two. Great. So shoulders down, crown of the head lifting. Take a moment, turn your head as long as you're comfortable towards the hand that's over your bent knee. Let your chin come down, and you're looking off the tips of your fingers, focusing, but also aware of your peripheral vision, aware of everything around you. Great, let's slowly lower the arms. You can straighten the front leg. Turn your feet parallel. Bring your feet together and give everything a little shake. Right, and then come to stand briefly for a moment, noticing whatever is present in your body, what sensations you are aware of. Right, so coming back to grounding, coming back to our felt sense constantly, whether we're practicing yoga or just in our daily lives, when we get kind of anxious or hyped up, just coming back to the ground, back to our bodies, can take us out of our heads, which can be, our heads can be our worst enemies as well as our best friends. So let's take the feet a little wider again. So again, the wider you go, the more challenging this can be. Taking the other foot now, turning it out to the side. Checking in with this back foot. Does it want to turn in? Does it want to stay straight? Where does it want to be? And then bending the front knee, and you want to make sure it's over your ankle, not just sort of front to back, but also side to side, right? So don't worry about what's happening in your hips. They'll turn a little bit towards the front leg, that's fine. And then arms to the sides, choosing the position that's best for you. So either straight parallel to the ground, a little lower, or bent with the palms turned up. So you can play around with what feels right for you. Shoulders down, press into the ground, almost like you're trying to pull your legs together to really feel engaged. Right? Gently, so you don't want to create tension, but just that feeling of being nicely engaged here. We'll take the back hand to the back leg, turn the front palm up, and gently reach up toward the ceiling. And then we'll come the other way. So hand to knee or inside the leg, other arm reaching up. The palm can be forward for this one or reaching right over the head, palm toward the ceiling or towards the floor. So reaching up and back, and just go side to side at your own time. And so whatever pace feels right for you, there's no need to worry about how you're breathing as long as you're breathing. Great. And then we'll come back to the center, back to warrior two. So again, choose your arm position, which is comfortable for you. Shoulders down and back, head lifting, drawing energy up through the legs by almost like pulling the legs together to engage them, looking out over the front hand, the hand that corresponds to the bent knee, looking over your fingertips, staying focused but aware of the space around you. Okay, let's slowly lower the arms, turn the feet parallel, and we'll step the feet together. So now we'll do a few forward bends, and here you may appreciate having a chair to support you. And as I showed you earlier, you could have the hands coming to the top of the chair or to the seat of the chair, or using your legs or reaching toward the ground. So if you're using a chair, you'll be maybe a foot or so back, soft knees. We'll inhale and lift the arms. And again, if you're coordinating breath, exhale as you go forward, hands to thighs, chair, shins, coming up. So if I start talking and forget to tell you to breathe, please keep breathing. And if you're coordinating breath here with your forward bend, you'll inhale as you come up. You'll exhale as you go forward. You want to bend your knees on the forward bend part. And then this time when you come forward, if you feel comfortable, you can stay here. So again, some of those cautions I talked about earlier, this is a great position, head over higher than the heart, the arms straight, you're well supported here with the shoulders over the wrists. And if you're here and you still want more, maybe coming onto your elbows, bending the knees a little more, letting the head release forward, if that's okay for you. So take a few breaths here. When you're ready to come up, make sure you feel well supported. So you might come back to your hands if you're using a chair, back to hands on the chair, soften the knees even more, put your weight into your feet and lift all the way up. And then release. So before we come to lie down, which we'll do in a moment, let's take a moment first to really, again, in this position, connect to the feet, connect to the earth. So our legs are like roots going down, and there's this natural split in the bodies just below the navel, where the lower body is like the roots sinking into the earth. The upper body is like the trunk of the tree, like the trunk of the body, like the trunk of the tree. The crown of the head, like the crown of the tree. And that feeling of moving in two directions. So a tree and all plants, in fact, grow in two directions. The roots go down, the stalk or trunk goes up, and we are no different. When we succumb to gravity, we sort of slowly sink into the earth. We go into a spiral down. But if we can remember that when we let the lower body go down, the upper body can be light and free, just like the deeper the roots are of the tree, the more the tree can lift and grow. So it's through that grounding down that we feel uplifted, ironically enough. So a couple more breaths here. Eyes can be open or closed, whatever feels right for you. Sometimes you might feel a little bit unbalanced with your eyes closed, so open is great. Great. One big breath here. Good. then just give a little shake. So sometimes in mountain pose, we bring a little more tension than we actually need. So just shaking that off. And you can put your chair aside if you're using a chair. We're going to make our way down onto the ground now. So take your time. In fact, if you need your chair to help support you to get down with feeling safe, do that. Otherwise, you'll come in your own way to the ground. And you want to come to lie right down. You can let your hands rest on your body if you like, or on the ground. And knees can be bent or straight. For me, I find my lower back is more comfortable for the most part when I'm lying down with my knees bent. Some of you might find it's more comfortable with legs straight. So it's a really individual thing. Take your time. And when you feel ready, if you like, you can, again, bring your hands to your body or the ground. And we're just going to tune into the breath, especially the exhalation. And noticing as you exhale, which parts of your body make contact with the ground. And as you continue to focus on your exhalation, feel that those parts of your body that make contact with the ground get a little wider. It's like they melt a little bit. The back of the head melts a little bit. The back of the shoulders and arms. Back of the pelvis. Legs or feet, whatever is on the ground. So every exhalation, start to feel a sense of connection and spreading through the back of the body in relation to the earth or ground, wherever you're lying. We'll take a few more breaths like this. Right, and then when you feel ready, and again, as always, if this feels right for you, bringing one knee in toward your body. And as you do that, notice how the shape of your lower back changes. Right? If you have your legs straight, you might want to bend the opposite leg, bring your foot to the floor if you like. And if you have the leg bent and you want to straighten it, you can go ahead and straighten. So it's really a matter of finding the position with the leg we're not really working with to make sure it's comfortable. And then a little movement around with that hip, so you can keep both hands on the knee or just one hand if you like. And as you move the leg, so we're getting some movement into the hip, but also feel how your weight shifts on the ground. Feel how you're actually massaging the back of your hips on the ground by taking your knee in a circle over you. Great, hugging that knee in a little more now. You can hold over the knee or behind the knee, whatever is comfortable for your knee. And if you straighten the other leg, you might want to bend it now as we stretch that leg toward the ceiling and circle the ankle around. You can hold this upper leg or let go, it doesn't matter. Circling your ankle. Again, really notice, what do you feel as you circle your ankle here? So for me, it's not just my ankle. I feel a stretch up the side of my shin, the back of my calf, into the back of my knee, and even into the thigh a little bit. You may feel something similar or completely different. Again, really honor your own body's experience. Relax your foot now. Give the leg a little shake. Great, and then bringing that foot to the floor, we're going to work with the same leg. So both knees are bent. The leg that you were just working with, you're going to let that open towards the ground to the side. So just letting that knee come toward the ground and then coming back to the center. Hands can be wherever it's comfortable. So that knee goes toward the ground and back. Again, We're working with the inner thigh, getting a stretch here, but I invite you to stay tuned into the sensations of movement of your sacrum, the back of your hips in relation to the earth. One more here. Great, and then let's come back to the center. We'll bring both knees in toward the body. You can rock a little side to side. And then whichever leg you haven't worked with, you'll keep that knee in as you bring the other foot to the floor. With a little squeeze in, either holding over or behind the thigh. And then you can start to do some movements with that knee. The opposite leg can stay bent or can extend out. And again, even though we're circling the knee to get into that hip joint a little bit, see if you can stay aware of the movement of your body on the ground. So how does your body change shape in relation to the ground here? What do you notice in the back of your body? So one way and then the other. When you come back to center at some point, again, you might choose to bend the leg that we're not working with as you extend the leg we are working with toward the ceiling. So it doesn't have to be straight. You want to only go until you feel just the most pleasant stretch, nothing intense at all as you circle your ankle now, tuning into noticing what you feel, what you're aware of as you go one way and then the other. Right, so we can do all of these movements and pay zero attention, thinking about something else the whole time. But we really get the benefit for our bodies, for our minds, for our emotions when we tune in, when we really get present. Right? Good. You can relax your ankle here, give it a little shake, and then bringing the foot down. So that said, it's really hard to get present. So even when we touch in for a moment and then get pulled away and we bring our attention back, that is the magic, that is the practice. It's not about being perfect or always being tuned in or always paying attention, but that we have a system for noticing. Right? So we come back when we notice that our attention is elsewhere. So today we're using the ground and the felt sense in the body as our focus to come back to, but it could really be anything. All right, so coming back to the center, both feet to the floor, come back to your breath. Well, and there's one more movement we didn't do on this side. So the leg we were just working, you start with both knees bent. You can open that knee toward the ground and then back to the center a few times. And then as your knee comes back to center, so both knees are pointing toward the ceiling, you can bring then both knees in toward your chest, one hand to each knee, and you'll move the knees away from you and towards you. Now, if there's another movement that feels better for you, that will help you to feel more even and balanced in your spine, again, you can choose something else, like maybe rocking or circling, or stretching the legs toward the ceiling, whatever works. Take your time if you want to squeeze in a little and do any other movements for a moment. Take your time. We will be moving into Shavasana next, so if there's anything your body needs, whether it's more movement or perhaps a blanket or a pillow, take your time to get what you need now, and then we will move into Shavasana as you're ready. So you can lie down for Shavasana, which is the most common option, or if you prefer, you can come to sit. And sitting might be a good option if you feel like you want to stay awake, but you're kind of sleepy, or it's hard for you to pay attention and stay focused when you're lying down. You might choose to sit. Right, so taking your time to get settled, make sure you're warm enough. So if you need a blanket, make sure you get what you need. So it is not very relaxing to be cold. Once you find your comfortable position, make micro adjustments as necessary to be as comfortable as possible, but at some point, just really accepting that this is my position, this is where I'm committing to, and you can let your body settle into the earth. And as you get settled, let your attention come back to the awareness of the ground beneath you. Feel as you exhale that you can connect to the earth. And with that exhale and connection to the earth, feel your body relax with each breath. A little bit more, letting go. Soften your jaw, muscles around your face, neck, head. Feel where your head makes contact with the ground. If you're lying, if you're sitting, you'll feel your neck supporting your head over your shoulders. But if you're lying down, feel that sense of the back of the head releasing into the support of the ground. And once the ground has your head, it's fully supported, you can allow the neck to relax, the jaw to relax, the face to relax even more. Let your shoulders go. So notice any holding in your shoulders and releasing, softening, letting go. Feel your whole torso let go now. The chest, the rib cage, the diaphragm, all of the organs in your chest, your heart and lungs softening. Softening again around the belly, the waist, the lower back. Feel the weight of your pelvis on the ground now. Whether you're sitting or lying down, feel where the hips, the pelvis make contact with the ground. And as much as possible, soften the muscles and holding around the belly, around the hips, around the pelvis. Let the weight of your hips sink down. Notice any sensations in your thighs. As you bring your awareness to your thighs, let them drop, let them go. Feel the earth beneath you, whatever part of your thighs, if any, are on the ground. Feel into your knees. Notice any sensations present in your knees, calves, ankles, and feet. This area that we worked a lot with today, the lower legs. As you exhale again, feel yourself sinking down, dropping into the earth, aware of how your body meets the earth, softening and relaxing into that support. I'll share with you a piece of a chant, a much longer chant. And this piece of this chant tells us that the earth reminds us of our inherent stability and connection. When we feel connected to the earth, we are more accessible to our own heart space. When we're accessible to our own heart space, we're more accessible to each other and to a connection with our highest power and creation itself. Prithvi me sharire shrita sharirahum hrudaye hrudayam mani aham amrite amritam brahmani. Prithvi me sharire shrita sharirahum hrudaye hrudayam mani aham amrite amritam brahmani. So let's come back now to that awareness of the earth beneath you. The feeling of your body making contact with the earth. Sensations present in your body right now as you maybe deepen your breath a little if you choose. So if you want to stay and rest a little longer, you can just ignore me. Otherwise, letting the breath deepen a little bit and feeling how your body experiences that deeper breath. What do you notice? Where do you feel it? Just be curious. Be curious about your physical experience in this world. You can gradually add movement as your body feels ready. Just take your time, move in whatever way would feel good. So our felt sense helps us to know what feels good. Right? If we have no awareness of our physical sensations, then we can easily hurt ourselves without noticing it. Right? Moving and shifting in any way that feels good. And in fact, on that note, I heard a documentary about a woman who could not feel pain, didn't feel pain in her body. And that seems like a really wonderful thing, to not feel pain, right? Especially if you're in chronic pain. But pain is a wonderful message, right? It is telling us that there is an issue. And if you don't feel pain in your body, if you're numb to that pain, we can re-injure ourselves quite easily. Just a little aside as to, another benefit of being able to really feel and tune into our bodies. So if you're ready, you can roll to your side, come to sit, take a moment, move slowly. Bring your hands together if that feels right for you, or it could be hands over the heart or in your lap, wherever you like. And I encourage you to take these ideas of grounding and felt sense off your mat and into your life. These are tools and resources you can use anywhere. And so when you start to feel your anxiety rising, which it will from time to time, feeling yourself where you're connected to the ground, tuning into that felt sense of connection to the ground and felt sense of sensation in the body as a way of bringing you back to the present moment. Taking those with you as you go into your day, having a lovely day. Namaste.